In the halls of Crestview Country Club, a single whispered phrase, "Black men don't belong here," was about to collide with the arrival of a man whose quiet dignity would shatter generations of prejudice. Charlotte Hayes, the perfect heiress with empty eyes, never imagined that an electrician's honesty would expose the lies she'd been trained to protect since childhood. When a diamond bracelet disappeared and whispers spread, she faced the ultimate choice: her mother's approval or a man who saw through her perfect facade. As rumors threatened to destroy Mullick Turner's reputation, Charlotte discovered that courage isn't about grand gestures. It's about standing firm when everyone expects you to remain silent. What happens when privilege meets prejudice, when truth challenges tradition, and when love defies boundaries? If you're watching this story of courage, redemption, and unexpected connection, hit subscribe now and tell me where you're from, because this journey proves that sometimes the most powerful light comes after the darkest power outage. The lights of Crestview Country Club sparkled against the darkening sky. Charlotte Hayes stepped through the grand double doors with her cousin Whitney on her arm. At 28, Charlotte looked every bit the perfect heiress. Her cream-colored dress fell to just below her knees, her blonde hair swept up in a simple twist. But inside, she felt hollow. "There's your mother," Whitney whispered, nodding toward Evelyn Hayes. Charlotte's spine straightened automatically. At 55, Evelyn commanded every room she entered. Tonight, she wore midnight blue and diamonds, her smile practiced as she greeted donors to the Hayes Foundation Gala. "Remember, darling," Whitney said, squeezing Charlotte's arm. "Smile like you own the place." "Well, your family practically does." Charlotte's lips curved upward, but the smile never reached her eyes. She scanned the ballroom filled with the town's wealthiest families. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, waiters in crisp black and white carried silver trays of champagne, and a string quartet played softly in the corner. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and the lights flickered briefly. "Oh no," Whitney said, frowning. "Not tonight of all nights." As if on cue, the lights dimmed again, sending a nervous murmur through the crowd. Charlotte spotted Mr. Sloane, the club manager, hurrying across the room, phone pressed to his ear, forehead creased with worry. Whitney leaned in close. "That storm's getting worse. I hope nothing ruins Mother's big night." Charlotte nodded absently. She watched her younger brother Noah frantically checking the sound equipment near the stage. At 22, Noah was sweet but anxious, always eager to please. Whitney's grip tightened on Charlotte's arm. A group of older members walked by, nodding in greeting. After they passed, Whitney leaned in close to Charlotte's ear. "Black men don't belong here," she whispered. The words hit Charlotte like a slap. She'd heard them before. From her mother, from board members, from Whitney herself. Words that maintained the invisible lines around Crestview's world. Words she'd never questioned out loud. Before Charlotte could respond, the lights dipped again, staying dim for 3 long seconds before returning to full brightness. Mr. Sloane appeared at Evelyn's side, speaking in hushed tones. Evelyn's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. "Charlotte!" her mother called, beckoning her over. Charlotte excused herself from Whitney and crossed the room. "Darling," Evelyn said, her voice smooth as polished marble. "Remember to keep our tone this evening. We have donors watching." "Yes, Mother," Charlotte replied automatically. "The weather's causing electrical problems," Mr. Sloane explained, tugging at his collar. "We've called an emergency contractor. He should arrive shortly." Evelyn's smile tightened. "Just make sure it's handled discreetly." "Of course, Mrs. Hayes," Mr. Sloane assured her before hurrying away. Charlotte felt a twinge of sympathy for the manager. Nothing was ever quite perfect enough for her mother. "Go check on your brother," Evelyn instructed. "He looks like he's about to faint." Charlotte nodded and made her way to the sound booth where Noah stood, pale and fidgeting. "Hey, little brother," she said gently. "Everything okay?" "The power keeps surging," he said. "If it goes out completely during Dad's memorial video." Charlotte squeezed his shoulder. "It won't. Mr. Sloan is bringing in help." The lights dimmed once more, this time drawing gasps from several guests. The chandelier crystal tinkled faintly as the power stabilized. "Mr. Sloan says an emergency contractor is on the way," Charlotte assured Noah. "Good," he sighed, pushing his glasses up his nose. "I just want everything to be perfect for Mom." Charlotte smiled sadly. Their father had died 8 months ago. A heart attack at his desk, swift and unexpected. The Hayes Foundation Gala was the first major event without him. "It will be," she promised, though she wasn't sure why she felt so certain. 20 minutes later, Charlotte was making small talk with one of her mother's friends when she noticed a stir near the service entrance. A tall black man carrying a tool bag and a coil of thick cable had entered. He wore dark blue work pants and a matching shirt with a patch that read "Turner Electric" on the chest pocket. Unlike the flustered staff rushing about, he moved with calm purpose. He nodded politely to an elderly guest who had apparently gotten turned around near the service corridor. "The ballroom is through those doors, ma'am," he said, his voice deep and steady. The woman thanked him and tottered away. Charlotte found herself watching as Mr. Sloan appeared and led the electrician toward the back of the building. "Charlotte, did you hear me?" The older woman beside her was waiting for a response. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Bennington. The lights, it's a bit distracting," Charlotte apologized. "Oh, I was just saying how proud your father would be of this turnout." Charlotte nodded, her attention still split. "Yes, he would." Across the room, she saw the electrician conferring with Mr. Sloan, pointing toward a service door. Their faces were serious, professional. The electrician asked something, and Mr. Sloan pointed down a hallway. "Excuse me," Charlotte said to Mrs. Bennington. "I need to check on something." She made her way toward the service corridor, not entirely sure why she felt drawn in that direction. As she approached, Whitney appeared at her side. "Who's that?" Whitney asked, eyes narrowed at the electrician's back as he disappeared down the hallway. "Emergency contractor," Charlotte replied. "For the power issues." Whitney raised an eyebrow. Well, let's hope he knows what he's doing. This place can't afford another embarrassment after the Christmas party disaster." Charlotte remained silent. She watched as the electrician examined a panel on the wall, his movements efficient and precise. A few minutes later, the light steadied. The electrician emerged from the service area, nodding at Mr. Sloan, who patted him on the shoulder with clear relief. The chandeliers glowed at full brightness, drawing spontaneous applause from several guests. "Crisis averted," Whitney said with a smirk. "Now I need another drink." She drifted away toward the bar. Charlotte lingered, watching as the electrician gathered some tools. Their eyes met briefly across the room. He gave a small, professional nod, then turned back to his work. Something about his calm confidence held Charlotte's attention. He wasn't rushing or showing off. He simply did what needed doing. Charlotte found herself walking toward him before she fully realized her intention. She approached as he was coiling a length of cable near a side doorway. "Thank you," she said simply. He looked up, surprise briefly crossing his features before his expression returned to professional politeness. "Just doing my job, ma'am," he replied, his voice even. "Well, you saved the evening," Charlotte continued. "I'm Charlotte Hayes." "Malik Turner," he replied with a slight nod. "Turner Electric." There was a guardedness to him, Charlotte noticed. A polite distance that spoke volumes about how people like her probably treated people like him at Crestview. "Charlotte, there you are." Noah appeared, slightly breathless. "Mom's looking for you. The donor speeches start in 10 minutes. "I'll be right there," Charlotte told him. Noah glanced at Malik, then back to his sister. "Did Dad use your company before?" he asked Malik suddenly. "I swear he knew every maintenance hallway in this place. He was always poking around behind the scenes." Something flickered across Malik's face. Recognition, perhaps? "I did a job for Mr. Hayes a while back," he answered carefully. "Rewired part of your family's lake house, I believe." "That sounds like Dad," Noah said with a sad smile. "He always hired the best." A staff member hurried past, calling for Mr. Sloan. The brief moment broke, and Charlotte realized she should return to the gala. "I should go," she said. "Thanks again, Mr. Turner." As she turned to leave, Charlotte noticed something peeking from her clutch, the corner of a small leather pocket notebook. Her father's notebook. She'd found it in his desk after the funeral and had taken to carrying it with her to important events, a small piece of him still present. When she reached a quiet alcove near the powder room, curiosity overcame her. She pulled out the notebook and flipped through the pages. Her father had kept notes on everything. Thoughts about the foundation, gift ideas for birthdays, names of restaurants he wanted to try. Charlotte stopped when she saw a familiar name. Turner Electric. Reliable, respectful. Her heart skipped. So her father had indeed known Malik, had trusted him even, had written him down in the little book he carried everywhere. She closed the notebook and slipped it back into her clutch, a strange mix of emotions washing over her. Her father, who had taught her to judge people by their character, not their appearance or status, had seen something in Malik Turner worth noting. Charlotte made her way back to the main hallway, scanning the crowd for the electrician. She spotted him checking a panel near the stage. Without overthinking it, she walked over to him again. "Mr. Turner?" she began, hesitating. "I wanted to apologize." He looked up, confusion crossing his features. "For what, Miss Hayes?" Charlotte hesitated. She wanted to apologize for Whitney's stares, for her mother's careful management of who belonged and who didn't, for her own silence that allowed it all to continue, for the words she'd heard whispered too many times in these hallways. "For how people here can be?" she finally said, keeping her voice low. Malik's expression remained neutral, but something shifted in his eyes. "I focus on the work," he replied simply. "That's all that matters." Before Charlotte could respond, she noticed Malik's attention shift to something on the floor near a stairwell. He stepped around her and bent down, picking up what appeared to be a diamond tennis bracelet. The stones caught the light, sparkling intensely. Without hesitation, Malik turned and walked directly toward Mr. Sloan, who was standing near the manager's office. Curious, Charlotte followed at a distance. She watched as Malik handed the bracelet to Mr. Sloan, saying something she couldn't hear. Mr. Sloan nodded, looking relieved, and took the bracelet into his office. Charlotte stood at the doorframe, witnessing the exchange. Mr. Sloan placed the bracelet in a drawer, then turned to answer a question from a frazzled-looking florist. As Malik stepped back into the hallway, Charlotte saw Whitney slide by, her sharp eyes taking in Malik's proximity to the office. Whitney's gaze narrowed, and she pulled out her phone, typing quickly. A cold feeling settled in Charlotte's stomach as she heard a whisper from nearby. "Did you see the contractor buy the jewelry?" Charlotte flinched, suddenly realizing the danger of the situation. How quickly assumptions could form. How easily someone like Malik could be judged unfairly in a place like Crestview. and she recognized her own part in it. The whispered words she'd never challenged. She made her way to a quiet catering station and asked a server for 2 coffees. With cups in hand, she walked deliberately to where Malik was now coiling cable near the stage. "Thought you might need this," she said, offering him a cup. Malik looked genuinely surprised. "Thank you," he said, accepting the coffee. He took a careful sip. "Perfect, black, no sugar." "Lucky guess." Charlotte smiled, though it wasn't luck at all. She'd noticed his thermos earlier, the lid removed to reveal black coffee. "Almost done here," Malik said, gesturing to the cables. "Just need to test the backup circuit one more time." "Do you enjoy it? Electrical work, I mean?" Charlotte asked. A small smile touched his lips for the first time. "I do. There's satisfaction in fixing problems, making things work right. When I finish a job, I can see the results immediately." "That must be nice," Charlotte said. "Sometimes I feel like nothing I do here makes any real difference." "How so?" Charlotte hesitated. "It's like everything's frozen, the same people, the same conversations, the same judgments, year after year." Malik nodded slowly. "That's why I prefer working for myself. I get to choose which doors I walk through." Over Malik's shoulder, Charlotte spotted Whitney lifting her phone, angling it to capture him with the office door in the background. Her cousin's face held a small, mean smile. Charlotte felt her stomach twist. She knew what was happening. A story was being crafted, one that would spread through group chats and whispers. Before she could say anything more to Malik, she heard her mother's voice calling her name. "I should go," she said reluctantly. Malik nodded, returning to his professional demeanor. "Enjoy your evening, Miss Hayes." Charlotte found her mother standing near the bar, looking perfectly composed despite the earlier power issues. "Charlotte, darling," Evelyn murmured. "Chatting with the staff looks needy. Remember to greet the Andersons. They're considering a major donation." "Yes, Mother," Charlotte replied automatically, though something inside her bristled at the implication. Noah appeared at her side, leaning in close. "Hey, Char," he whispered. "Group chats are buzzing about a bracelet situation. Something about that electrician guy." Charlotte went still. "What are they saying?" "Nothing specific yet, but Whitney mentioned seeing him near Sloane's office," Noah said nervously. "You know how these things spread." Charlotte took a deep breath, her mind racing. She knew what she'd seen. Malik finding the bracelet and immediately turning it in. But she also knew how quickly rumors could take hold, especially about someone who didn't belong at Crestview. Without replying to Noah, she turned and walked purposefully toward Mr. Sloane's office. She found the manager sorting through paperwork, looking harried. "Mr. Sloane," Charlotte said firmly, "I'd like you to write a note confirming that Mr. Turner turned in a diamond bracelet he found near the stairwell." Mr. Sloane looked up, surprised. "Oh, that's handled, Miss Hayes. No need to worry about it." "I saw him give it to you," Charlotte pressed. "And now there are rumors starting." Mr. Sloane's expression tightened. "Miss Hayes, it's best not to fan flames. These things blow over quickly." Charlotte felt frustration building inside her. "It's not right. He did the honest thing, and people are twisting it." "Please, let me handle this discreetly," Mr. Sloane insisted. "Your mother would prefer it that way, I'm sure." Charlotte stood there, suddenly seeing the implication clearly. Her inaction would allow a lie to stick. By staying silent, she would become part of the problem. Through the office window, she saw Malik finishing his paperwork at a small desk, preparing to leave. Rain had begun tapping against the windows, the storm they'd been expecting all evening finally arriving. She watched as he gathered his tools and headed for the service exit, his back straight, his face unreadable. In that moment, Charlotte Hayes made a decision. She would not be silent. Not anymore. Rain tapped harder against the windows as she stepped out of Mr. Sloane's office, a new resolve setting in her heart. She hurried toward the service corridor, determined to catch Malik before he left. Some truths were worth speaking, even when it meant challenging everything she'd been taught to protect. Charlotte hurried through the service corridor, her heels clicking against the polished floor. The rain fell harder now, drumming against the windows. She pushed open the door to the loading area, just as Malik was placing his tool bag in the back of a white van with Turner Electric painted on the side. "Mr. Turner!" she called out, stepping into the light drizzle. Malik turned, surprise evident on his face. "Miss Hayes?" The rain dampened Charlotte's hair and dress, but she hardly noticed. "I was hoping to catch you before you left." Malik glanced at the darkening sky. "Storm's picking up. You shouldn't be out here getting wet." "I wanted to walk with you," Charlotte said. "If you need to bring anything else in from the ballroom, I mean." Malik studied her for a moment, then nodded toward the service entrance. "I do have one more cable spool to collect, but you'll ruin your dress in this rain." Charlotte smiled. "It's just water." They walked back inside together, the warmth of the building a stark contrast to the chill outside. Charlotte felt eyes on them as they moved through the corridor, but she kept her head high. In a storage closet near the stage, Malik bent to lift a heavy spool of cable. Without being asked, Charlotte took one side. "You don't have to," Malik began. "I want to help," Charlotte insisted, gripping her end of the spool. They carried it together down the long corridor, passing a few curious staff members. The spool was heavier than Charlotte expected, but she managed to keep pace with Malik's steady stride. When they reached the exit door again, the rain had intensified. Fat droplets splashed onto the pavement, creating small puddles. "Ready to make a run for it?" Malik asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. Charlotte nodded, and they dashed out into the rain, still carrying the spool between them. By the time they reached the van, they were both soaked. Malik opened the back doors, and they loaded the cable inside. Charlotte laughed, pushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Well, that was refreshing." Malik's serious expression softened, and he chuckled. "Not exactly gala-appropriate weather." They stood there for a moment, rain soaking through their clothes, the sound creating a private bubble around them. "Can I buy you dinner?" Charlotte asked suddenly. "To thank you for fixing the power, and—" She hesitated. "For other reasons." Malik raised an eyebrow, studying her face. "It's late." "Just a quick bite," Charlotte pressed. "There's a diner not far from here. Nothing fancy, but they make good coffee." Malik hesitated, then checked his watch. "Okay, a short one." "Great," Charlotte smiled. "I'll follow in my car." 20 minutes later, they sat across from each other in a vinyl booth at the edge of town diner. The place was nearly empty, just a couple of truckers at the counter and an elderly man reading a newspaper in the corner. The waitress brought the menus laminated in plastic, worn at the edges from years of use. "Best coffee in town?" Charlotte said, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. Malik took a sip from his own cup. "You were right." They ordered simple food, a BLT for Charlotte, a turkey club for Malik. When the waitress walked away, a comfortable silence fell between them. "Why are you really here?" Malik finally asked, his dark eyes studying her face. Charlotte took a deep breath. "I saw you turn in that bracelet." Right away, without hesitation. "That's just basic decency," Malik said. "But now there are whispers," Charlotte continued. "Suggestions that—" She trailed off, not wanting to say the ugly implications out loud. Understanding crossed Malik's face. That I took it, then returned it later to cover my tracks? Charlotte nodded, shame washing over her. I'm sorry. Don't apologize for other people's assumptions, Malik said evenly. But I'm part of it, Charlotte admitted. That world, those assumptions. Earlier tonight, I heard something ugly and I didn't speak up. I just let it pass. Malik's expression remained neutral, but his eyes were intense. What was said? Charlotte looked down at her coffee. Someone whispered that black men don't belong at Crestview. Malik's face didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. And you're telling me this because it was wrong, Charlotte said firmly. And I should have said something then. I'm saying something now. Their food arrived, creating a momentary pause in the conversation. Charlotte watched as Malik carefully cut his sandwich in half, his movements precise. You know, Malik said after taking a bite, I became an independent contractor because I like the freedom. No boss looking over my shoulder. No office politics. That sounds nice, Charlotte said. It is. I get to choose my projects. Leave places better than I found them. He set down his sandwich. But the trade-off is that I have to be twice as careful, twice as professional, especially in places like Crestview. That's not fair, Charlotte frowned. No, it's not, Malik agreed. But it's reality, and I've built a good business despite it. I'm proud of that. Charlotte felt a new respect forming for the man sitting across from her. He wasn't asking for pity or making grand statements. He was simply stating facts, with dignity intact. Tell me about your work, Charlotte said. What do you enjoy most about it? For the next half hour, they talked about Malik's business, how he'd started with small residential jobs and worked his way up to contracts with businesses and country clubs, how he'd taken night classes to get certified in green energy solutions, how he loved the precision of electrical work, the way everything had to connect properly or nothing worked at all. What about you? Malik asked. What do you do besides attend galas? Charlotte smiled ruefully. Not enough, honestly. I work with the Hayes Foundation, my family's charity. But most days, I feel like a figurehead rather than someone making real change. What would you rather be doing? The question caught Charlotte off guard. No one had asked her that in a long time. I studied art history in college, she admitted. I always thought I might work in a museum or maybe teach. But after graduation, Mom needed help with the foundation, and then Dad got sick, and she trailed off. Life happens, I guess. Malik nodded. It does, but it's never too late to make a change. Sometimes it feels like it is, Charlotte sighed, like I'm trapped in amber while everyone watches. That's a choice too, Malik said gently. His words hit her with unexpected force. Was she choosing this life? This silence? I said something ugly tonight, Charlotte confessed. About black men not belonging. I wasn't speaking for myself, but I said it, and I'm sorry. Malik set down his coffee mug. I appreciate your honesty. Not many would admit that. I want to be better, Charlotte said quietly. Words matter most when the room isn't safe for them, Malik replied, his voice low and steady. It's easy to say the right things when everyone agrees with you. It's harder when there's a cost. Charlotte nodded, understanding the challenge in his words. Could she speak up when it mattered, when there was something to lose? As they finished their meal, the rain eased to a gentle patter. The waitress brought their check, which Charlotte insisted on paying. Thank you for joining me, she said as they stepped outside. The air smelled fresh after the rain, and puddles reflected the neon diner sign. Thank you for the invitation, Malik replied. It was unexpected. They walked toward their cars in comfortable silence. Charlotte found herself wishing the evening didn't have to end, which surprised her. I should get back to check on my brother, she said, though Noah was probably fine. He gets nervous at these big events. Malik nodded. And I have an early job tomorrow. As they approached the club parking lot, Malik slowed his steps. You know, years ago, I was hired to update the lighting system in the Crestview ballroom, he said, his voice casual but something deeper lurking beneath the surface. Really? I don't remember that. It was about 5 years back, Malik explained. I was checking the wiring behind one of the panels when a member questioned what I was doing there. I explained I was working, showed my credentials, but they insisted I didn't belong. Charlotte felt her stomach sink. What happened? I was quietly escorted out, Malik said, his face unreadable. The manager apologized, said it was a misunderstanding, asked if I could come back later to finish the job after hours, when no one would see. And you did? Charlotte asked, feeling a new wave of shame for her community. I did, Malik nodded. Because I finish what I start. But I remember thinking how strange it was. They wanted my work, just not my presence. Charlotte didn't know what to say. Any apology felt hollow in the face of such a story. I won't be silent again, she finally promised. Not about the bracelet, not about anything like this. Malik looked at her, his expression neutral. That's a big commitment for someone you just met over diner food. It's not about you specifically, Charlotte said. It's about what's right. Her phone buzzed in her purse. She pulled it out to see a text from Noah. Rumor worse, someone saw him with a bracelet. Charlotte's jaw tightened. She showed the phone screen to Malik. This is how it starts, she said, anger rising in her voice. Whispers, hints, no proof needed. Malik's face remained calm, but she saw tension in his shoulders. And now you're caught in the middle. I'm not in the middle, Charlotte said firmly. I know what happened. I saw it. They reached Charlotte's car first, a sleek silver sedan parked near the main entrance. The club's windows glowed warmly in the night, the gala still in full swing inside. I'm going to speak to Mr. Sloan again, Charlotte decided. He needs to address this directly. Malik hesitated. Charlotte, these situations rarely end well for people like me, regardless of the truth. The use of her first name wasn't lost on Charlotte. Something had shifted between them during dinner. Then we'll make this one different, she insisted. Back inside, Charlotte found Mr. Sloan near the ballroom entrance, looking harried but relieved that the power had remained stable. Mr. Sloan, Charlotte said politely but firmly, I need to speak with you about the bracelet Mr. Turner found. Mr. Sloan glanced nervously at a passing group of members. Miss Hayes, I've already assured you it's being handled. I'd like you to pull the staff room camera footage, Charlotte pressed. It will show Mr. Turner handing you the bracelet immediately after finding it. Mr. Sloan's forehead creased with worry. That's really not necessary. We should focus on discretion in these matters. Discretion? Charlotte repeated, trying to keep the edge from her voice. Or hiding the truth because it's inconvenient? Charlotte. The sharp voice came from behind her. Charlotte turned to find her mother standing there, elegant as ever, despite the late hour. Is everything all right? Evelyn asked, her smile fixed but her eyes cool. Everything's fine, Mrs. Hayes. Mr. Sloan jumped in. Just a small issue with a lost item. Charlotte, the Williamsons are asking for you, Evelyn said smoothly. And I believe the staff can handle lost and found matters. Charlotte felt the familiar pressure to comply, to keep peace, to maintain the perfect haze image. But Malik's story echoed in her mind. "Mother, this is important," she began. "So are our donors," Evelyn cut in, her voice low but firm. "Managers should manage, dear. That's why we have them." Charlotte saw Malik finishing his final safety check near a side door. He glanced up, meeting her eyes across the room. He gave a small, polite nod, then turned toward the exit. She felt torn between following her mother's lead and standing up for what she knew was right. For a moment, she froze, caught between worlds. "I'll speak to the Williamsons in a moment," Charlotte finally said to her mother, choosing a middle path. "I just need to finish this conversation." Evelyn's lips tightened, but she nodded curtly and walked away. When Charlotte turned back to continue her discussion with Mr. Sloane, he had already moved on to deal with another issue. She spotted Malik heading for the service exit and made a quick decision. She caught up with him in the corridor. "Let me help you with the last of your equipment." Malik raised an eyebrow but didn't object as Charlotte lifted a small case of tools. They walked together toward the exit, their shoulders occasionally brushing, creating a gentle electricity between them. "Your family seems nice," Malik commented. "Your brother especially." Charlotte smiled. "Noah's the best of us. He feels everything so deeply." "And your father? What was he like?" The question brought both pain and warmth. "Fair," Charlotte said after a moment. "He judged people by their actions, not their background. He would have liked you." "Is that so?" Malik asked, a small smile playing at his lips. "I found your name in his notebook," Charlotte admitted. "Turner Electric, reliable, respectful." Those were high compliments from him. "I remember your father," Malik said. "He asked questions, wanted to understand the work. Most clients just want it done." They reached Malik's van, and Charlotte handed him the case. Their fingers brushed briefly, sending an unexpected tingle up her arm. "I have photos," Malik said suddenly. "Photos?" "Of my work," he clarified, pulling out his phone. "Before and after shots of panels I've fixed. Might bore most people, but—" He scrolled through his gallery and held out the phone. Charlotte took it, genuinely curious. The images showed electrical panels transformed from chaotic tangles of wire to neatly organized systems. "It's like art, in a way," she said, swiping through the photos, "creating order from chaos." Malik's expression softened, and for the first time that evening, his smile reached his eyes. "That's exactly it. Most people don't get that." Charlotte handed back the phone, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. "Thanks for showing me." Malik closed the van doors, then turned to face her. "Thank you for dinner, and for noticing." "Noticing?" "The bracelet. The rumors. Most people prefer to look away." Charlotte felt something shift between them, a recognition, perhaps, or possibility. "Would you—" she began hesitantly. "Would you ever come back? To see the ballroom when it's quiet?" Malik tilted his head, studying her face. "When?" Charlotte's heart quickened. "Now?" Inside the emptying ballroom, the last guests were saying their goodbyes. Staff moved efficiently, clearing glasses and rearranging furniture. The string quartet had packed up, leaving only the soft hum of the heating system. Charlotte led Malik to the center of the polished wooden floor. The chandeliers were dimmed, creating pools of golden light across the ceiling. "It's different without the crowd," Malik observed, looking up at the ornate molding. "Better," Charlotte said. "More honest, somehow." They stood in comfortable silence, taking in the empty space. Then, almost without thinking, Charlotte held out her hand. "Dance with me?" Malik hesitated, then gently took her offered hand. "There's no music," We don't need any, Charlotte said softly. He placed his other hand lightly at her waist, keeping a respectful distance between them. Charlotte rested her free hand on his shoulder, feeling the solid strength beneath his work shirt. They began to move slowly across the floor, finding a natural rhythm together. Malik counted softly under his breath. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Charlotte felt herself relaxing into the dance, into trust. They moved in perfect sync, as if they'd danced together 100 times before. You're good at this, she said. My grandmother insisted. I learn, Malik smiled. Said a man should know how to dance properly. Smart woman, the smartest, he agreed. As they turned beneath the crystal chandeliers, Charlotte noticed how different this felt from the stiff, formal dances she usually endured at Crestview events. This was real, unguarded. Her phone dinged in her clutch, breaking the spell. Malik stepped back politely as she checked the message. It was from the club's private chat group. Heard contractor pocketed jewelry, then returned it to cover tracks. Convenient timing. Charlotte's face must have shown her distress, because Malik's expression immediately sobered. Bad news? He asked quietly. She showed him the phone screen. It's already spreading. Malik's face hardened slightly, but his voice remained steady. And there it is. This isn't right, Charlotte said, anger building inside her. They weren't even there. They didn't see what happened. They don't need to see, Malik said. The story fits what they want to believe. Charlotte closed the message and put her phone away, determined not to let it ruin the moment they'd shared. I'll fix this, she promised. Tomorrow, when heads are clearer. Malik nodded, but she could see the doubt in his eyes. He'd been through this before, she realized. Had seen promises fade in the light of day. I should go, he said finally. It's getting late. They walked together to the service exit one last time. At the door, Charlotte found herself reluctant to say goodbye. Thank you for the dance, she said. Thank you for dinner, he replied, and for caring about the truth. On impulse, Charlotte pulled a business card from her clutch and wrote her personal number on the back. In case you need anything, she said, handing it to him. Malik took the card, his fingers warm against hers. Good night, Charlotte. Good night, Malik. After he left, Charlotte stood in the empty corridor, something new and unfamiliar blooming in her chest. A sense of purpose, perhaps, or something more. As she drove home that night, the rain had stopped, leaving the roads slick and shining under streetlights. Charlotte could still feel the gentle pressure of Malik's hand at her waist, could still hear his voice counting the dance steps. She pulled into her townhouse driveway just after midnight, exhausted but strangely energized. After only 4 hours of sleep, Charlotte poured coffee and opened the club chat on her phone. The rumors had grown overnight, each message more elaborate than the last. Her mother had texted too. Call me when you wake up. Noah had sent a more supportive message. Heard you were asking about the bracelet thing? Maybe clear it carefully? Don't want it to blow up. Charlotte took a deep breath and typed a direct message to Mr. Sloan. Please preserve and review staff room camera from 7:45 8 p.m. Then she called her mother. Charlotte, darling, Evelyn answered on the second ring, sounding perfectly put together despite the early hour. I was just about to call you. Morning, Mother, Charlotte replied. Is everything okay? I wanted to discuss last night, Evelyn said, her tone carefully neutral. Specifically your interaction with the contractor. Charlotte gripped her coffee mug tighter. His name is Malik Turner, and he did nothing wrong. It's not about right or wrong, dear, Evelyn sighed. It's about perception. There's talk spreading. Lies spreading, Charlotte corrected. He found a bracelet and immediately turned it in to Mr. Sloane. I saw it happen. That may be true, Evelyn conceded, but pursuing this creates unnecessary drama. Perhaps it would be best to step back from being seen with Mr. Turner. Charlotte felt a familiar pressure building, the expectation to preserve peace at all costs. But this time, something else pushed back against it. The memory of Malik's story, of being asked to work when no one could see him. I can't do that, Mother, she said firmly. A long silence stretched between them. Very well, Evelyn finally replied, her voice cool. We'll discuss this at brunch. 11:30 at the club. After hanging up, Charlotte sat at her kitchen table, turning her phone in her hands. Part of her wanted to text Malik to assure him she was still fighting for the truth. But what if he'd already written her off as another privileged person making empty promises? Instead, she texted Noah. Going to brunch with Mom. Could use backup. His response came quickly. I've got your back, sis. Charlotte spent the morning preparing herself for the confrontation ahead. She chose her outfit carefully, a simple blue dress that made her feel strong. She practiced what she would say if given the chance. She reminded herself why this mattered. At 11:30 sharp, Charlotte walked into Crestview Country Club for Sunday brunch with her head held high. Evelyn and Noah were already waiting in the lobby, her mother perfectly composed in cream-colored linen, her brother fidgeting with his tie. Charlotte, Evelyn greeted her with air kisses to both cheeks. You look lovely, dear. Thanks, Mom, Charlotte replied, squeezing Noah's arm in silent gratitude for his presence. They entered the brunch room together, and Charlotte immediately noticed the hush that fell over nearby tables. Whispers followed in their wake as they were led to their usual spot near the windows. They had just been seated when Charlotte spotted Malik passing by with a coil of cable. He was there for the scheduled follow-up test he'd mentioned the night before. Their eyes met across the room. Charlotte opened her mouth to greet him, to acknowledge him publicly, then saw her mother's tight expression, felt the weight of dozens of watching eyes. For a crucial moment, she faltered. Malik held her gaze, reading her silence. He gave a curt nod, his face closing off, and walked on. The air between them went cold, and Charlotte felt something precious slipping away. She'd failed the very test she'd promised to pass. When it mattered most, in the room full of judgment, she'd been silent. Charlotte could barely taste her food as brunch dragged on. Her mother chatted about foundation matters. Noah made polite conversation. But all Charlotte could think about was the look in Malik's eyes when she'd failed to acknowledge him. Disappointment, resignation, as if he'd expected it all along. Charlotte, dear, are you listening? Evelyn's voice cut through her thoughts. Sorry, Mother. What were you saying? I was asking about the Hartwell donation. Did you follow up with them after the gala? Not yet, Charlotte admitted. I'll do it tomorrow. Evelyn sighed. This is exactly the sort of detail that needs immediate attention. The foundation depends on these relationships. Charlotte nodded automatically, but her mind was elsewhere. Through the large windows, she could see Malik loading equipment into his van. Each movement was efficient, professional. He never once looked back toward the club. Excuse me, Charlotte said suddenly, standing up. I need to step out for a moment. She walked quickly to the ladies' room, locking herself in a stall. With shaking hands, she pulled her father's notebook from her purse. She flipped to the page with Malik's name. Turner Electric, reliable, respectful. The words grounded her, reminding her of what her father had valued. Character, integrity, qualities that had nothing to do with where someone came from or what they looked like. Charlotte traced the writing with her finger, feeling a surge of resolve. This was the woman she wanted to be. Someone who recognized worth, who stood up for truth, who didn't falter when it mattered. She pulled out her phone and dialed Mr. Sloane's number. "Miss Hayes," he answered, sounding surprised. "What can I do for you?" "Pull the footage," Charlotte said, her voice steady. "I'm coming in to view it." "I don't think that's It is necessary," Charlotte interrupted. "I'll be there in 15 minutes. She hung up before he could object further. Then she typed a quick text to Malik. "I failed you at brunch. I'm fixing it. I'm sorry." She didn't wait for a response before returning to the table. "Mother, Noah, I need to go," she announced. "There's something important I need to handle." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "More important than family brunch?" "Yes," Charlotte said simply. "I'll call you later." Before her mother could object, Charlotte walked out, her spine straight, her purpose clear. 30 minutes later, she sat in the small security office at Crestview, facing a reluctant Mr. Sloane. "Miss Hayes, I really don't think this is the best use of your Sunday," he tried one last time. "The footage, please, Mr. Sloane." With a sigh, he turned to his computer and pulled up the security feed from the previous night. He fast-forwarded to 7:45 p.m., then let it play at normal speed. The camera showed a clear view of the hallway outside the office. At 7:48, Malik appeared, walking directly to Mr. Sloane. He held out his hand, revealing the bracelet. Mr. Sloane took it, nodding in thanks. The entire exchange took less than 20 seconds. "There," Charlotte said, pointing to the timestamp visible in the corner. 7:48 p.m. He found it and immediately turned it in. Mr. Sloane cleared his throat. "Yes, well, that does appear to be the case." "I want the club to issue a formal note correcting the rumor," Charlotte said. "Today." Mr. Sloane's forehead creased with worry. "Miss Hayes, that would mean admitting the club was, well, in error. It might cause more talk than it resolves." Charlotte leaned forward, keeping her voice calm and reasonable. "Mr. Sloane, a man's reputation is being damaged because of whispers in our club. Whispers that we now have proof are false. These things usually blow over. Truth repairs more than it breaks," Charlotte interrupted. "My father taught me that. I think you knew him well enough to know he'd agree." The mention of her father seemed to land. Mr. Sloane's expression softened slightly. "He would," he admitted. "Your father was always fair-minded." "Then be fair now," Charlotte pressed. "Write the correction. Send it to all members." Mr. Sloane exhaled slowly. "Give me an hour to draft something appropriate." "Thank you," Charlotte said, standing up. "I appreciate it." As she left the security office, Charlotte checked her phone. No response from Malik. She couldn't blame him. She sat in her car for a moment, considering her next move. Then she typed Malik's name into her map app, searching for Turner Electric. The business address appeared, a workshop about 20 minutes away. Before she could second-guess herself, Charlotte started the car and drove. The workshop was in a tidy industrial area, a small building with a neat sign out front. Turner Electric's logo was simple and professional, much like the man himself. Charlotte parked and took a deep breath. She'd stopped at a deli on the way, picking up a simple paper bag lunch. It was a peace offering, but also an excuse. She wasn't sure if Malik would even want to see her. The front door was unlocked. A bell jingled as she entered a small reception area with a desk and a few chairs. Beyond it, she could see a workspace with tools hanging on pegboards and spools of wire neatly organized on shelves. "Hello?" she called. Malik appeared from the back room, wiping his hands on a cloth. He stopped short when he saw her. "Charlotte," he said, his voice neutral. "This is a surprise." "I brought lunch," she said, holding up the paper bag. If you're hungry? Malik studied her face for a long moment. Come on back, he finally said. The workshop was immaculate, every tool in its place, every surface clean. A workbench ran along one wall, with various electrical components laid out for what looked like a current project. You keep a tidy shop, Charlotte commented. Messy wiring causes problems, Malik replied. I prefer to keep things clean from the start. He cleared a space at a small table in the corner, and Charlotte set down the bag. She'd brought sandwiches, chips, and bottled water. Nothing fancy. Thank you for seeing me, she began, taking a seat. I wanted to apologize in person. Malik sat across from her, his expression guarded. For what, specifically? The question caught Charlotte off guard, but she recognized its importance. He wanted her to name the offense, not just offer a blanket apology. For not speaking to you at brunch, she said. For seeing you and staying silent. For caring more about what others thought than doing what was right. Malik nodded slowly. And before that? At the gala? Charlotte took a deep breath. For hearing someone say that black men don't belong at Crestview and not challenging it. For being part of a system that makes you prove yourself twice over. For all of it. She unwrapped her sandwich, but didn't eat. I'm not asking you to make this easier than it is. I know words aren't enough. Malik unwrapped his own sandwich and took a bite, considering her words. Thank you for not asking me to make this easier than it is. The honest acknowledgement hung between them. No false forgiveness, no pretending the hurt wasn't real. I saw the security footage, Charlotte continued. It clearly shows you turning in the bracelet immediately. Mr. Sloan is drafting a correction to be sent to all members today. Malik raised an eyebrow. You convinced him to do that? I insisted, Charlotte corrected. It's the right thing to do. And your mother? What does she think of all this? Charlotte looked down at her untouched sandwich. I haven't told her yet, but I will. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Charlotte noticed a photo on the wall, Malik standing next to an older woman with kind eyes and the same strong jawline. My grandmother, Malik said, following her gaze. She raised me after my parents died, taught me everything important. Like dancing? Charlotte smiled. A small grin tugged at the corner of Malik's mouth. Like dancing, and like making sure my name stands for something good. She did an excellent job, Charlotte said softly. Malik's expression grew serious again. Charlotte, what are you doing here, really? The directness of the question demanded an equally direct answer. I'm here because I care about what happens between us, she admitted. Because last night meant something to me, and I ruined it this morning. Because I want to be someone who stands up in the room, not just in the hallway after. That's a lot to promise after one dinner and a dance, Malik said carefully. I know, Charlotte agreed, but I'm willing to try if you are. Malik set down his sandwich and met her eyes directly. I need to know something first. If we're at Crestview next week, and someone stares or whispers, what will you do? I'll speak up, Charlotte said without hesitation. In the moment, not after. And if your mother objects, if donors get uncomfortable, then they'll need to get comfortable, Charlotte said firmly, or find another charity to support. Malik studied her face, looking for any sign of doubt. That's a high cost. Not compared to the cost of silence, Charlotte replied. Her phone buzzed on the table. An email from Mr. Sloan. She opened it and read quickly, then turned the screen so Malik could see. The club correction, she explained. The message was formal but clear. The diamond tennis bracelet reported missing during last night's gala was found and promptly turned in by contractor Mr. Malik Turner. We regret the confusion and commend his integrity. For the record, Charlotte said quietly. Something shifted in Malik's expression. A softening, the first hint of real trust. This matters to you, he observed. You matter, Charlotte corrected, then caught herself. I mean, the truth matters. Malik smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. I knew what you meant. Her phone buzzed again, this time a text from Noah. Whitney sent private apology. Mom reading club note with pinched face. You okay? Charlotte showed Malik the message. My brother's a good guy. He's on our side. Our side? Malik repeated, raising an eyebrow. Charlotte felt her cheeks warm. Figure of speech. Uh-huh, Malik said, a hint of amusement in his voice. They finished their lunch, the conversation turning to lighter topics. Books they'd both read, places they wanted to visit, simple things that revealed more of who they were beyond last night's drama. I should let you get back to work, Charlotte said eventually, gathering the lunch wrappers. Thanks for coming by, Malik said, walking her to the door. And for fixing things with the club. Charlotte paused at the door. Would you maybe want to meet me at the club tomorrow? Just for coffee? In the main dining room, not hidden away in service corridors. The request hung between them. Not just an invitation, but a statement of intent. A promise to be seen together, publicly. What time? Malik asked. 4 o'clock? Charlotte suggested. That's when the afternoon crowd comes in for tea and coffee. Malik nodded. 4 o'clock. The next day, Charlotte arrived at Crestview 10 minutes early. She chose a table in the center of the room, not hiding in a corner, but placing herself deliberately where everyone would see her. At precisely 4 o'clock, Malik walked in. He wore dark jeans and a navy button-down shirt rather than his work clothes. Heads turned as he crossed the room to Charlotte's table. Charlotte stood up, smiling. You came? I said I would, Malik replied simply. She extended her hand, and he took it, a brief but deliberate touch before they both sat down. Charlotte was acutely aware of the stares, the whispers, but she kept her focus on Malik. Coffee? She offered. Please. She signaled a server, who approached with professional courtesy. 2 coffees, please, Charlotte said. Black for Mr. Turner, cream and sugar for me. Right away, Miss Hayes, the server replied. As they waited for their drinks, Charlotte noticed staff members walking by, some shooting curious glances, others nodding politely. How's the follow-up work going? She asked. Almost done, Malik replied. The main system is stable now, but I wanted to add some surge protection for the next storm. Their coffee arrived, and they fell into easy conversation. Charlotte asked about a current project he'd mentioned during lunch, and Malik described the lighting system he was designing for a community center. It's not glamorous, he admitted, but the kids need good lights for basketball practice. The old system flickered constantly. That sounds worthwhile, Charlotte said sincerely. I'd love to see it sometime. Really? Malik looked surprised. Really? Charlotte nodded. It's the kind of project that makes a difference. Mr. Sloan walked by, spotted them, and hesitated. Then, to Charlotte's surprise, he approached their table. Miss Hayes, Mr. Turner, he said with a nod to each. I trust everything is satisfactory? The coffee is excellent, thank you, Charlotte replied. Mr. Sloan cleared his throat. Mr. Turner, I wanted to thank you both for your professional work on our electrical system and for your discretion regarding recent events. Malik met the manager's eyes steadily. Just doing my job, Mr. Sloan. Yes, well... Mr. Sloan shifted uncomfortably, then seemed to make a decision. Thank you both. As he walked away, Charlotte felt a small victory. It wasn't a grand apology, but it was acknowledgement, in public, where it mattered. Progress, she murmured. Malik's eyes held a hint of amusement. Small steps. They finished their coffee as the afternoon sunlight streamed through the large windows, casting a warm glow over the room. Charlotte found herself relaxing, genuinely enjoying Malik's company without the drama of the previous night hanging over them. "Would you like to come for dinner tonight?" she asked suddenly. "At my place? Nothing fancy, just normal." The word hung between them. Normal. As if they could have that, as if the world would let them. "I'd like that," Malik said. "What time?" 6:30? And I thought, maybe my brother could join us? And my mother, if she's willing? Malik raised an eyebrow. "That's a big step." "I know," Charlotte admitted. "But I want them to know you. The real you, not rumors or assumptions." "And if your mother refuses?" Charlotte took a deep breath. "Then it will be just the three of us. But I have to try." As they prepared to leave, Charlotte deliberately threaded her fingers through Malik's, a public statement she couldn't have imagined making 2 days ago. Staff members watched as they walked together toward the exit, but Charlotte kept her head high. In the bright sunlight outside, their joined hands seemed both ordinary and revolutionary. "See you at 6:30, Charlotte confirmed." "I'll be there," Malik promised. 2 hours later, after a quick grocery run, Charlotte plated roast chicken and salad in her townhouse kitchen. She'd called Noah immediately after leaving the club, and he'd agreed to come without hesitation. Evelyn had been a harder sell. "I don't see the purpose of this dinner, Charlotte," her mother had said, voice cool over the phone. "The purpose is to meet someone important to me," Charlotte had replied. "Someone who deserves our respect." A long silence had followed. "Very well," Evelyn had finally said. "What time?" Now, as Charlotte arranged the table settings, the doorbell rang. Noah arrived first, giving his sister a supportive hug. "You're really stirring things up," he said with a grin. "Whitney's group chat is on fire?" "Good," Charlotte replied. "Maybe they'll learn something." The doorbell rang again. This time, it was Evelyn, looking elegant as always, but slightly reserved. "The table looks lovely, dear," she commented, handing Charlotte a bottle of wine. "Thank you for coming, Mother," Charlotte said sincerely. At precisely 6:30, Malik arrived, carrying a small bouquet of simple wildflowers. "For the hostess," he said, handing them to Charlotte. "They're beautiful," she said, genuinely touched by the gesture. She made the introductions, watching her mother carefully. Evelyn was polite but distant, assessing Malik with guarded eyes. Noah, on the other hand, immediately engaged him in conversation about a sound system he was trying to install in his apartment. "The wiring in that building is from the Stone Age," Malik commented, accepting a glass of water from Charlotte. "Tell me about it," Noah groaned. "Every time I plug in my equipment, the lights dim." "You probably need a dedicated circuit," Malik suggested. "The older buildings weren't designed for modern electronics." Charlotte served dinner, and to her surprise, the conversation flowed more easily than she'd expected. Malik spoke about his business, about a recent project wiring a new restaurant downtown. Noah talked about his music production classes. Even Evelyn contributed, asking thoughtful questions about Malik's work ethic. "My grandmother believed that anything worth doing was worth doing right," Malik explained. "She didn't accept shortcuts or half-efforts." "A wise philosophy," Evelyn remarked, the first genuine comment she'd made all evening. As they ate dessert, a simple apple pie Charlotte had picked up from her favorite bakery, she noticed her mother studying Malik with new eyes. Not warm yet, but considering. After dinner, Noah helped clear the plates while Evelyn excused herself to make a phone call. Charlotte and Malik stood side by side at the sink, washing dishes in comfortable silence. "Your brother's great," Malik said quietly. "He reminds me of you." "Really? We're so different," Charlotte replied. Not where it matters, Malik said. You both see people, not just categories. Charlotte handed him a plate to dry. Thank you for coming tonight. I know it couldn't have been easy. Easier than I expected, Malik admitted. Your mother didn't exactly warm up, but she listened. That's something. Their hands touched in the soapy water, and Charlotte felt that now familiar electricity between them. They shared a private smile, one that held promise of more moments like this. When Evelyn returned, she announced she needed to leave. Early foundation meeting tomorrow, she explained. At the door, she surprised Charlotte by extending her hand to Malik. Mr. Turner, she said formally. Thank you for a pleasant evening. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Hayes, Malik replied, equally formal. It wasn't acceptance, not yet, but it was a beginning. After Noah and Evelyn left, Charlotte and Malik sat on her small patio, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. That went well, Charlotte said. Better than I expected, honestly. Your mother's protective, Malik observed. She wants what's best for you. Yes, Charlotte agreed. But she doesn't always know what that is. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the evening air cool but pleasant. I should go, Malik said eventually. Early job tomorrow. Charlotte walked him to the door, suddenly shy. The evening had shifted something between them, making this more real, more possible. Thank you, she said simply, for giving this a chance. Malik's expression softened. You fought for the truth. That matters to me. On impulse, Charlotte leaned forward and kissed his cheek, a gentle touch that held both gratitude and promise. Good night, Malik. Good night, Charlotte. The next Sunday afternoon, 1 week after their first meeting, Charlotte and Malik walked together through the park near Crestview. Broad oak trees created dappled shadows on the path, and children played on a nearby playground. After a week of small, steady texts and a coffee date on Wednesday, they had settled into something that felt surprisingly natural. My grandmother would have liked you, Malik said, as they strolled past a duck pond. I wish I could have met her, Charlotte replied. She sounds remarkable. She was, Malik agreed. Worked as a nurse for 40 years. Never complained, never stopped learning. Is that where you get your work ethic? Absolutely, Malik nodded. She used to say, leave things better than you found them. Applies to places and people. Charlotte smiled. Wise woman? They walked in comfortable silence for a while, their hands occasionally brushing. How's your mother doing with all this? Malik asked carefully. Charlotte considered the question. She's processing. She asked about your business yesterday. Actually seemed interested. Small steps. And Whitney? Avoiding me? Charlotte grinned. But Noah says she's stopped spreading rumors at least. They reached a bench overlooking the pond and sat down. The afternoon sun warmed their faces. I've been thinking about pacing, Malik said after a moment. This thing between us. Charlotte's heart skipped. Oh? It's only been a week, he continued. A lot has happened in that week, but still. You want to take it slow, Charlotte guessed. I do. Malik nodded. Not because I'm not interested, but because this matters. You matter. Charlotte felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. I'd like that too, doing this right. Good, Malik smiled. Because there's somewhere I'd like to take you. Where? The community center I mentioned, where I installed the lighting system. There's nothing grand about it, just a good space for kids to play. I finished the work last month. I'd love to see it, Charlotte said sincerely. It's just around the corner, Malik said, standing up and offering his hand. We could walk there now if you want. Charlotte took his hand, feeling the strength and warmth of his fingers interlaced with hers. Lead the way. As they walked, Charlotte realized how much had changed in just 1 week. A whispered comment, a power outage, a found bracelet. Small moments that had shifted her entire world. They approached the service corridor door of Crestview, the place where they'd first really talked. The afternoon sun bathed their joined hands in golden light. Charlotte reached into her pocket and touched her father's notebook. She didn't need it anymore, didn't need her father's validation of Malik's character. She could see for herself the man he was, reliable, respectful, and so much more. What began with whispered words of division was becoming something beautiful, built on truth, respect, and the courage to stand up in the room, not just in the hallway after. Some journeys began with a single step. Theirs had begun with a whisper and a flicker of light, and Charlotte couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The small church gym was nothing special to look at. Just a rectangular room with a high ceiling, wooden floors worn smooth from years of use, and basketball hoops at either end. But as Malik flipped the switches, Charlotte gasped. The lights came on in sequence, bathing the space in clear, even illumination. No harsh glare, no flickering shadows, just perfect, steady light that made the whole room feel larger and more welcoming. "This is what you designed?" Charlotte asked, turning slowly to take it all in. Malik nodded, pride evident in his smile. The old system was a mess, buzzing fixtures, dark spots, constant blowouts. Kids couldn't practice properly after sunset. Charlotte watched as Malik demonstrated the different settings. Full brightness for games, medium for practices, low for community meetings. Each setting transformed the space in subtle but significant ways. "It's not fancy," he said, "but it works. That's what matters." "It's beautiful," Charlotte said sincerely. "I can see why this matters to you." A teenage boy pushed open the gym doors, basketball under his arm. He stopped when he saw them. "Hey, Mr. Turner," he called. "Lights are awesome, man." "Thanks, Dion," Malik replied. "How's the team doing?" "Championship next weekend," Dion grinned. "You should come." "Wouldn't miss it," Malik promised. More kids filtered in, nodding respectfully to Malik as they began shooting hoops at the far end of the gym. Charlotte noticed how they interacted with him, with familiarity and respect, but no formality or distance. "They know you," she observed as they walked back outside. "I volunteer sometimes," Malik explained. "Basic electrical workshops for the older kids. Some of them might consider trades after high school." The simple statement revealed yet another layer to the man walking beside her. Not just a contractor doing a job, but someone investing in his community, creating paths for others to follow. "You're making a real difference here," Charlotte said. Malik shrugged. "Small differences add up." They walked back toward the park in comfortable silence, their shoulders occasionally brushing. The afternoon was fading toward evening, the sky turning soft shades of pink and gold. "Are you hungry?" Charlotte asked. "We could grab dinner." "Actually, I have another idea," Malik said, "if you're up for it." 20 minutes later, they sat on a blanket spread on a grassy hill overlooking the city. Malik had stopped at a small market on the way, picking up fresh bread, cheese, and fruit. It wasn't an elaborate picnic, but somehow it was perfect. "Best view in town," Malik said, handing Charlotte a bottle of water. "Especially at sunset." The city spread out below them, buildings catching the last golden rays of sunlight. In the distance, Crestview Country Club sat on its manicured grounds, looking small from this vantage point. "I used to come here when I was working on big projects," Malik continued. "Helps me think, seeing the whole picture." Charlotte took a bite of cheese and bread, savoring the simple flavors. It puts things in perspective. Exactly, Malik nodded. All those buildings down there, I've worked in a lot of them. Wired offices, fixed emergency systems, installed security lighting. From up here, they're all just part of the same city. Charlotte understood what he meant. From this hill, the artificial divisions between neighborhoods, between Crestview and the community center, seemed meaningless. "Tell me more about your grandmother," she said. "She sounds like an amazing woman." Malik's face softened. "Lillian Turner. Never met a problem she couldn't solve, or a person she couldn't find good in. Raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 8. "I'm so sorry," Charlotte said quietly. "It was hard," Malik acknowledged. "But Grandma was steady as a rock. Worked night shifts as a nurse, made sure I did my homework, taught me how to cook and iron my own shirts." He pulled out his phone and showed Charlotte a photo. A younger Malik in a graduation gown, arm around an elegant older woman with bright eyes and a proud smile. "She was my biggest supporter," Malik continued. "When I wanted to start my own business, she let me convert her garage into my first workshop. Said she'd rather have a grandson with dreams than an empty garage." "When did she pass?" Charlotte asked gently. 3 years ago," Malik said. "Peaceful in her sleep. She was 92. "A full life," Charlotte observed. "The fullest," Malik agreed. "She always told me, 'Baby, don't let how people see you determine how you see yourself.'" Took me years to really understand what she meant. Charlotte thought about the weight of those words, about the whispers and stares Malik had likely faced his entire life. "And your family?" Malik asked. "You've talked about your father, but not much about what he was like." Charlotte pulled her knees to her chest, gathering her thoughts. "My father was complicated. He built the Hayes Foundation from nothing, worked incredibly hard. But he was always fair. He taught me that character matters more than anything else." "And your mother?" "She grew up with nothing," Charlotte explained. "The foundation, Crestview, all of it represents security to her. Something she never had as a child. I think that's why she holds so tightly to appearances, to status. She's afraid of losing it all." Malik nodded slowly. "That helps me understand her better. She's not a bad person," Charlotte said. "Just scared in her way." "And Noah?" Charlotte smiled. "Noah's the gentle one, sensitive, creative. My father never quite knew what to make of him, but he's got such a good heart." They sat in comfortable silence, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon. The city lights began to twinkle below them, stars appearing overhead. "This is nice," Charlotte said softly. "It is," Malik agreed. Their hands found each other on the blanket, fingers intertwining naturally. No statement being made, no point being proven. Just two people connecting in the growing darkness. "Malik," Charlotte began hesitantly. "Where do you see this going? Us, I mean." Malik turned to face her, his expression thoughtful in the fading light. "Honestly, I'm still surprised we're here at all." "Because of Crestview? My family?" "Partly," he admitted. "But also because these stories don't usually end this way. Someone like me, someone like you." "Maybe it's time for new stories," Charlotte suggested. Malik smiled. "Maybe it is." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "I like you, Charlotte Hayes. More than I expected to. But I'm also realistic about the world we live in." "What does that mean?" "It means we take this day by day," Malik said. "No rushing, no promises we can't keep. Just seeing where it leads." Charlotte nodded, appreciating his honesty. "I can work with that." "Good," Malik smiled. "Because I'd like to keep seeing you." As darkness fell completely, they packed up their impromptu picnic and walked back to their cars. The evening air had grown cooler, and Charlotte shivered slightly. Without a word, Malik took off his light jacket and placed it around her shoulders. "Thank you," she said, touched by the simple gesture. "Can't have you catching cold," he replied with a smile. At her car, Charlotte hesitated, not wanting the evening to end. "Thank you for showing me your work at the community center. And for this." She gestured toward the hillside. "Thanks for coming," Malik said. "It's not Crestview, but it's better," Charlotte interrupted. "Real." Their eyes met in the soft glow of the street lamp. Charlotte felt drawn toward him, the connection between them stronger than ever. Slowly, giving him time to pull away if he wanted, she leaned forward. Their lips met in a gentle kiss, brief but filled with promise. When they separated, Malik's eyes were warm, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Good night, Charlotte," he said softly. "Good night, Malik." As Charlotte drove home, she felt lighter than she had in years. Something was beginning between them, something unexpected and precious and worth protecting. Her phone rang through her car speakers. Noah. "Hey, little brother," she answered. "Where have you been?" Noah asked. "Mom's been trying to reach you." Charlotte sighed. "I was with Malik. What's up?" "She wants to discuss the donor reception next weekend," Noah explained. "Apparently the Williamses are threatening to pull their support over, well, you know. The real world intruding on her perfect evening." Charlotte felt a flicker of anger, quickly replaced by determination. "Tell her I'll call in the morning," she said. "And Noah, thanks for the heads up." "That's what brothers are for," he replied. "Was it a good date?" Charlotte smiled. "The best." The next morning, Charlotte met her mother for coffee at a small cafe downtown, neutral territory, away from both Crestview and the foundation offices. Evelyn looked immaculate as always, not a hair out of place despite the early hour. She sipped her latte, eyeing Charlotte over the rim of the cup. "The Williamses are concerned," she began without preamble. "About what, exactly?" Charlotte asked, though she knew the answer. "Your friendship with Mr. Turner?" Evelyn said carefully. "They feel it sends a confusing message about the club's values." Charlotte took a deep breath, centering herself. "And what values would those be, Mother? Prejudice? Jumping to conclusions? Spreading rumors about an innocent man?" Evelyn's lips tightened. "Charlotte, this isn't about Mr. Turner personally. It's about appearances, about the comfort of our longtime supporters." "Their comfort isn't my priority," Charlotte replied evenly. "The truth is, the foundation needs these donors," Evelyn reminded her. "Your father spent decades building these relationships." "Dad also wrote in his notebook that Malik was reliable and respectful," Charlotte countered. "He valued character above all else. You know that." Evelyn was silent for a moment, turning her cup slowly on its saucer. "Your father was an idealist," she finally said. "I loved that about him. But someone has to be practical." "There's nothing practical about alienating a good man based on prejudice," Charlotte said firmly. "Malik did nothing wrong. In fact, he did everything right. Fixed the power, found the bracelet, turned it in immediately. And he was still judged unfairly." "The world isn't fair, Charlotte," Evelyn sighed. "Then we should work to make it more fair," Charlotte insisted. "Starting with our own actions." Evelyn studied her daughter's face, seeing something new there, a certainty, a resolve that hadn't been present before. "You care for him?" she observed. "I do," Charlotte admitted. "But that's not why I'm standing my ground. I'd do the same for anyone being treated unjustly." Evelyn took another sip of her coffee, thinking. "The donor reception is Saturday evening," she finally said. Were you planning to bring Mr. Turner? The question caught Charlotte off guard. She hadn't thought that far ahead. I hadn't asked him, she admitted. We're taking things slowly. If, Evelyn chose her words carefully, if you were to bring him, how would you handle the Williamses and others who might be uncomfortable? Charlotte recognized the question for what it was. Not opposition, but a practical consideration. Her mother was trying, in her way. With dignity and truth, Charlotte replied. The same way Malik handled the rumors. No drama, no scenes, just calm confidence in doing what's right. Evelyn nodded slowly. Your father would approve of that approach. They finished their coffee in thoughtful silence. As they prepared to leave, Evelyn surprised Charlotte by placing a hand on her arm. Bring him, she said simply. If he wishes to come, I'll handle the Williamses. Charlotte felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you, Mother. Don't thank me yet, Evelyn warned. It won't be easy. The right things rarely are, Charlotte replied. That evening, Charlotte called Malik. They'd been texting throughout the day, but she wanted to hear his voice. Hey, he answered, sounding pleased. Was just thinking about you. Good thoughts, I hope. Charlotte smiled. The best, Malik assured her. How was your day? Interesting, Charlotte replied. I had coffee with my mother this morning. Oh, how did that go? Charlotte took a deep breath. She suggested I bring you to the Hayes Foundation donor reception this Saturday. A pause. Your mother suggested this? Surprising, right? Charlotte laughed. I think she's trying, in her way. That's unexpected, Malik said carefully. You don't have to say yes, Charlotte assured him quickly. It's formal, probably boring, and might be uncomfortable. Will the Crestview crowd be there? Some of them, Charlotte admitted, including the Williamses, who apparently have concerns about us. Malik was quiet for a moment. What do you want, Charlotte? The simple question touched her deeply. Not what was expected, not what was proper. What did she want? I want you there with me, she said honestly. But only if you want to come. Another pause. What should I wear to a Hayes Foundation donor reception? Charlotte smiled, relief washing over her. Is that a yes? That's a yes, Malik confirmed. I figure if I could handle finding a bracelet at Crestview, I can handle a few stares at a reception. You're pretty amazing, you know that? Charlotte said softly. So, I've been told, Malik replied, and she could hear the smile in his voice. Saturday evening arrived clear and cool. Charlotte stood in front of her mirror, smoothing the fabric of her dark blue gown. She'd chosen it carefully, elegant, but not flashy, something that made her feel strong. The doorbell rang precisely at 7. When Charlotte opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. Malik stood there in a perfectly tailored black suit, crisp white shirt, and deep blue tie that somehow matched her dress exactly. He looked confident, handsome, and completely at ease. Wow, she managed. I could say the same, Malik replied, his eyes appreciative as they took in her appearance. You look beautiful, Charlotte. Thank you, she said, feeling suddenly shy. You clean up pretty nicely yourself. My grandmother insisted I own one good suit, Malik explained with a smile. Said you never know when you'll need to make an impression. Smart woman, Charlotte said, echoing their earlier conversation. Malik offered his arm. Ready? Charlotte took a deep breath, then slipped her hand through his arm. Ready? The Hayes Foundation reception was held at the Grand Hotel downtown, in a ballroom with crystal chandeliers that reminded Charlotte of Crestview. But tonight felt different. She was different. As they entered, Charlotte was acutely aware of the glances, the whispers, the sudden pauses in conversation. She kept her head high, her hand firmly in Malik's. Noah spotted them first, hurrying over with obvious relief. "You made it! Thank goodness! Mom's been handling the Williamses for the past 20 minutes. "Mr. Turner," he said, extending his hand to Malik. "Great to see you again." "Call me Malik," he replied, shaking Noah's hand. "And thanks for the welcome." "Drinks?" Noah offered. "You might need one. Mrs. Williams is on her third martini and getting louder by the minute." "Lead the way." Charlotte laughed, grateful for her brother's support. They made their way to the bar, Charlotte nodding greetings to various donors and board members. Some responded warmly, others with cool politeness. A few pretended not to see her at all. "Charlotte, darling." Evelyn appeared at her side, looking regal in emerald green. "Mr. Turner, welcome to our little gathering." "Mrs. Hayes?" Malik nodded respectfully. "Thank you for having me." "The pleasure is ours," Evelyn replied with surprising warmth. She lowered her voice. "The Williamses are by the east wall. I suggest avoiding that area for now." Charlotte raised an eyebrow at her mother's conspiratorial tone. "Will do." "Mr. Turner," Evelyn continued, "I understand you recently completed a project at the community center on Pine Street?" Malik looked surprised that she knew about it. "Yes, a lighting system for the gymnasium." "Impressive work, I'm told," Evelyn said. "The director is an old friend of the foundation. She spoke highly of your professionalism." Charlotte watched this exchange with amazement. Her mother had done research, had made an effort to find common ground. "Thank you," Malik said, genuine appreciation in his voice. It was a meaningful project. A server appeared with a tray of champagne. Evelyn took 2 glasses, handing them to Charlotte and Malik, then took one for herself. "To new connections," she said, raising her glass in a small toast. "New connections," Charlotte and Malik echoed, their eyes meeting over the rims of their glasses. The moment was broken by Whitney's arrival, her expression a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. "Charlotte," she greeted. "Mr. Turner." "Malik," he corrected gently. Whitney nodded, not quite meeting his eyes. "I wanted to apologize for the misunderstanding at the gala." The apology was stiff, possibly coached by Evelyn, but it was an apology nonetheless. "Thank you," Malik said simply. "I appreciate that." An awkward silence fell, which Noah quickly filled with a question about the community center project. Grateful, Charlotte watched as Malik described his work, gradually drawing Whitney into the conversation. As the evening progressed, Charlotte was surprised by how many people approached them. Some out of genuine interest, others out of curiosity, a few clearly checking to see if the rumors were true. But Malik handled each interaction with the same calm dignity he'd shown that first night at the club. "May I have this dance?" he asked during a lull in the conversation as the small orchestra began playing a waltz. Charlotte smiled, remembering their dance in the empty Crestview ballroom. "Absolutely." On the dance floor, Malik's hand at her waist, Charlotte felt the stares intensify. But as they moved together in perfect rhythm, she found she didn't care. "Everyone's watching," she murmured. "Let them," Malik replied. "We're just dancing." But it was more than just dancing, and they both knew it. In that ballroom filled with the city's elite, they were writing a new story, one step at a time. As the music ended, applause rippled through the crowd. Charlotte noticed Mr. and Mrs. Williams watching from the edge of the dance floor, their expressions disapproving. "The infamous Williamses?" Malik guessed, following her gaze. "In the flesh," Charlotte confirmed. "Ready to meet them?" Malik raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," Charlotte said, taking his hand. "Time to stand in the room. not just the hallway after. They approached the couple directly. Mr. Williams, a florid-faced man in his 60s, stiffened visibly. His wife clutched her martini glass a little tighter. "Mr. and Mrs. Williams." Charlotte greeted them warmly. "I'd like to introduce Malik Turner, owner of Turner Electric." "Mr. Turner," Mr. Williams managed, extending a reluctant hand. "We've heard so much about you," Mrs. Williams added, her smile not reaching her eyes. "All good things, I hope," Malik replied smoothly. "Mr. Turner recently completed a beautiful lighting project at the Pine Street Community Center," Charlotte continued. "The same center that receives funding from your family's education initiative, I believe." Mr. Williams blinked, caught off guard. "Yes, that's right. The new system is making a real difference for the basketball team," Malik added. "They're heading to the championship next weekend, in fact." "Is that so?" Mr. Williams replied, a flicker of genuine interest crossing his face. "My grandson plays basketball. The Pine Street team could use supporters at the game," Malik suggested. "Always good for the kids to see community leaders in the stands." Charlotte watched in amazement as the conversation shifted, Malik deftly finding common ground where she'd expected only friction. By the time they moved on, Mrs. Williams had actually smiled genuinely, and Mr. Williams had promised to attend the championship game. "How did you do that?" Charlotte asked when they were out of earshot. Malik shrugged. "Found something that mattered more to them than their discomfort with me." "You're pretty good at this," Charlotte observed. "Lots of practice," Malik replied, but there was no bitterness in his tone, just simple acknowledgement of reality. As the evening drew to a close, Charlotte found herself standing with Malik, Noah, and Evelyn near the entrance, saying goodbyes to departing guests. "A successful evening, I think," Evelyn said once the last donor had left. "The foundation raised nearly double our target." "That's wonderful, Mother," Charlotte replied. "And Mr. Turner, Malik," Evelyn corrected herself, "thank you for joining us. Your presence was illuminating for many of our donors." Malik smiled at the subtle pun. "Thank you for including me, Mrs. Hayes." "Evelyn, please," she replied, surprising them all. It wasn't acceptance, not completely, but it was a significant step. "I should be going," Noah announced. "Early recording session tomorrow. Malik, great to see you again. Mom, beautiful event as always. Char, call me tomorrow." After Noah left, Evelyn excused herself to speak with the event coordinator, leaving Charlotte and Malik alone. "Your mother's trying," Malik observed. "More than I expected," Charlotte admitted. "It means a lot to me." "To me, too," Malik said quietly. Outside the hotel, the night air was cool and refreshing after the warmth of the ballroom. Stars dotted the clear sky above, the city humming softly around them. "Thank you for coming tonight," Charlotte said, turning to face Malik. "I know it couldn't have been easy." "Actually, it was easier than I expected," Malik replied. "Your family, your world, it's not as impenetrable as it seems from the outside." "Is that a good thing?" Charlotte asked. Malik considered the question. "I think so. Walls work both ways. They keep people out, but they also keep people in. Breaking them down a little benefits everyone." Charlotte nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. For years, she'd felt trapped by the expectations, the unwritten rules of her world. Tonight had shown her another way forward. "Walk with me?" she suggested, nodding toward the hotel's garden. They strolled together through the carefully landscaped paths, fairy lights twinkling in the shrubs around them. In a secluded corner, they found a stone bench beneath a flowering tree. "What are you thinking?" Malik asked as they sat down. Charlotte took a moment to gather her thoughts. "I'm thinking about that first night at Crestview. The whisper I heard. The words I didn't challenge. That was only a week ago, Malik reminded her. Look how far we've come since then. It feels like longer, Charlotte admitted, like something fundamental has shifted. For me too, Malik said softly. In the gentle glow of the garden lights, Charlotte studied his face, the strong jawline, the kind eyes, the quiet confidence that had drawn her to him from the beginning. I think I'm falling for you, Malik Turner, she said, the words surprising even herself with their honesty. Malik's expression softened. I think I'm falling for you too, Charlotte Hayes. He leaned forward, his hand gently cupping her cheek. Their lips met in a kiss that felt both new and familiar, tender and electric. Charlotte felt herself melting into him, all the tensions of the evening dissolving in the warmth of his touch. When they finally pulled apart, Malik rested his forehead against hers. This won't always be easy, he said softly. You know that, right? The best things rarely are, Charlotte replied, echoing her words to her mother. Malik smiled. Your father was right about you, you know. What do you mean? I remember him talking about his daughter once, years ago when I was working at your lake house, Malik explained. He said you had the strongest moral compass of anyone he'd ever known, that you just needed to trust it more. Tears pricked at Charlotte's eyes. He said that? Malik nodded. He was proud of you, and he'd be proud of you now. Charlotte wiped away a tear. I hope so. I know so, Malik said firmly. They sat together in the garden for a long time, talking about everything and nothing, hopes, dreams, favorite books, childhood memories, planning future dates, imagining possibilities. When they finally walked back to their cars, the night was deep and still. Charlotte felt a profound sense of rightness, of being exactly where she was meant to be. Sunday brunch tomorrow? She suggested. At the diner this time, not Crestview. I'd like that. Malik smiled. One more kiss. Lingering, sweet, full of promise. And then they parted ways, each driving home under the same starlit sky. 3 months later, Charlotte and Malik stood side by side at the Pine Street Community Center, watching as the local basketball team raised their championship trophy. The stands were packed with supporters, including, to Charlotte's continuing amazement, Mr. and Mrs. Williams cheering as loudly as anyone. Dion, the teenager they'd met that first day in the gym, spotted them and waved excitedly. He'd scored the winning points in the final seconds of the game. Your lights made a difference, Charlotte said, squeezing Malik's hand. They played better under them all season. Maybe, Malik smiled. Or maybe they just needed people to believe in them. After the celebration, they walked back to Malik's van together. His business had grown in the past months, partly due to connections made at the Hayes Foundation reception. But he still took the community projects that mattered, still taught workshops for kids interested in the trades. Charlotte's life had changed too. She'd taken a more active role in the foundation, focusing on programs that created real opportunities rather than just photo ops. She'd started painting again for the first time in years, setting up a small studio in her spare bedroom. And she and Malik had continued building something beautiful together, day by day, step by step. Not rushing, not making grand promises, just growing steadily closer. Dinner at my place tonight? Malik suggested as they reached the parking lot. I'm trying Grandma's famous pot roast recipe. Sounds perfect. Charlotte smiled. As they drove away from the community center, Charlotte reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a whispered comment at a country club gala to a championship basketball game in a community center gym. From prejudice and assumption to understanding and love. The right thing rarely needed a spotlight. It needed steady voices in small rooms. Love took root when appearance yielded to character, and when apologies came with repair. Ordinary courage, spoken gently and lived consistently, had indeed won the day. And their story was just beginning.